We're live. Hey, I'm going to be talking to you if you and you are a returning principal of a school that's been designated as underperforming. But I want to ask you a couple of questions. How many of you feel the weight of the pressure to create a positive culture on your campus? Raise your hand. Okay. And how many of you feel overwhelmed by the sheer number of challenges that's coming at you each and every day? I know the feeling. And how many of you wish that you would have had, some kind of guidance or something, some way that you could spend time building relationships rather than just putting fires out? So I understand what you're saying. But let me tell you about my story. Our campus was once an underperforming school. And in one of our meetings, we would have our department meetings in our conference room with the department leaders when there was something big that we were working on. And we were looking at strategies, and we decided that we wanted to kind of look at what worked for us the previous year, and we wanted to really repeat that. But this time, we wanted to add a few changes to help us sustain the success that we had. And we even did some things we thought that's going to help us build on our progress. So I felt confident that, these adjustments would make a difference. But then one of the department leaders interrupted me and said, Dr. Bogle, we hear that Ms. Harris said that she's not making any changes. She says we can mandate whatever we want, but she's not budging. She says she's going to stick with what's worked for her in the past and won't be deviating from that process. Okay, so, I felt a flash of anger. Here I am sitting here, at the table in, my conference room, with all of my department chairs. And she would have, and I'm getting secondhand information, but, I would think, well, how could she resist that? How could she just be that defiant? So I told my secretary, send someone to cover Miss Harris's class and have her to report to the conference room immediately. And when Miss Harris got there, she stood in front of the room, while we were all seated at the table, and our eyes were all on her. And I didn't waste any time. I asked her directly, I heard that you're not going to make any changes to your lesson plans as we had discussed as departments. Is that correct? And Ms. Harris, Ms. Harris is a veteran teacher. She was known for consistently high student scores. She looked at me without hesitation and she said, that's absolutely right. There's no need to fix something that isn't broken. I'm going to do what I've always done and what has always worked for my students. Man, there was silence in that room. Everybody was looking at me. I could feel the eyes. They were waiting to see how I was going to respond to her clear defiance. It was a make or break moment, and I paused for a while. And I told Ms. Harris, all right, Ms. Harris, you continue using your method. But when the interim results come in, I expect your progress to reflect that choice. She left the room and nothing more was said. When the interim scores came in, of course, Ms. Harris's scores, were as usual. They were exceptional. But what this experience taught me? It taught me a lot about leadership and school culture. It showed me the importance of balancing my vision, and my vision was for all of the 8th graders to meet standard. And I said all 100% by the end of that year. And, I learned that I need to have some flexibility and I needed to have some trust. I needed to be able to trust Ms. Harris. She'd done it before. She can do it again. Why do I want to change? So from that day on, I began to lead with some key principles I wish, I had sooner. Hi, my name is Dr. Barbara Polk, and I come on each week to provide guidance to new and returning principals of schools that have been designated as underperforming to help them turn their schools into what I like to call hallelujah success stories. I've turned many schools around as a principal, and through my consulting and mentoring programs, I continue to mentor principals to transform their schools into hallelujah success stories. So look at the links below and join our Facebook group. If you know someone that's already in the Facebook group, all you have to do is just tell them just to let you in. And you can gain information that you can share with others, that you can use yourself. Just click the link and, you get the free resources. And for those of you who are on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It definitely will help with my content. So as I navigated those kinds of challenges over the years, I discovered that there's some core principles that every principal can use to strengthen their school culture and to lead with impact. And today, what I want to do is share with you 5 lessons that have transformed my approach to leadership and can do the same for you. I've constantly looking at research, and the research that I'll be sharing with you today is research that came from insights of U.S. presidents. And this again is from an article in Education Week by Ronald Thomas. And we're going to see how all of those strategies that have already been proven, how they can help us overcome the hurdles that we face as principals. So let's look at the first thing, and that is to gather firsthand information. Oh, Ms. Harris's approach opened my eyes to the importance of hearing directly from the teachers, especially those who are delivering results. When we gather firsthand information, we understand what's truly working, and we understand why. So we can make informed decisions rather than blanket mandates. Get it from what they say, the horse's mouth. The second thing is to ask the right questions, principals. Instead of demanding compliance, Ms. Harris, I needed to ask better questions. What was making Ms. Harris's approach so effective? Why did she feel it was important to keep doing something that has always worked for her? Why should she change it? Ask the right questions, and they can reveal some valuable insights into why they're succeeding, why you are having success, or why there are some challenges. And then bring all your stakeholders on board. Leadership isn't about dictating change from top down. Let me say that again. Leadership isn't about dictating change from the top down. By inviting teachers, even your veteran teachers like Ms. Harris, share methods and ideas. We can foster more collaborative culture where everyone feels their input is valued. And for our veteran teachers are defiant. Our veteran teachers do not like to make change, even if that change is mandated from central administration. But there is a way for us to work with our veteran teachers to understand why they don't want to change, and they have a success record. I think we need to be listening to them. And the next is be willing to learn and adapt. This experience with Ms. Harris, it humbled me and reminded me that, I have to make room to learn and adapt. Ms. Harris's success showed me that sometimes our best decisions come from embracing flexibility and allowing proven practices to continue even as we pursue grace. So when you incorporate those 5, you can build your school culture, and that's going to honor your vision, and it's going to give you the autonomy that you need. Remember, we're not forgetting it. Principals, this is your school. You ultimately the one, who makes the decisions. However, you want to align your team strength or your school strengths for the benefit of students. It's not about you. It's not about your ego. So what I want to challenge you for the coming week is this. Take one step to deepen your understanding of your school's culture by gathering firsthand insights. I mean, whether that means, spending time in classroom, holding one-on-one conversations with teachers, or simply listening to what's happening in the halls. And make it a priority to engage directly with your team. We hear lots of things going on. We hear lots of gossip going on, and we just kind of dismiss it. What I'm saying is, next week, if you hear something like that, or if you have heard something like that, take time to, kind of see where that's coming from. There could be something that you can learn from that. There could be some truth to that. By the time the gossip gets to you, I mean, it's all turned around. And then ask yourself, how can I incorporate these insights, these things that I'm finding out about the teachers, that I'm finding out about the students? How can you take those insights and align them to your vision? And, my vision, our vision, was to have 100% of those 8th graders mastering their assessment, their formative assessment, their summative assessment, their state assessment. And you're going to see that that when we do that, that's going to empower your team. So what I want to do also, I want you to come back next week ready to reflect on what you discovered and how that understanding is going to strengthen your culture. That one little small action can lead into some big shifts, some shifts in trust, some shifts in collaboration, and ultimately your school success. So your school can become a hallelujah success story. I'm Dr. Barbara Polk. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time on Principles on the Come Up, where we transform schools into hallelujah success stories. We'll see you next time.